Well, another day, another video. Anyways, Sonic 2006 is a weird game in the Sonic series. Famously known as being one of the worst games ever made. Definitely one of the worst games ever released onto the Xbox 360. It really is the game of all time. But it's been gaining some positive traction lately, being referred to by many Sonic fans as based in GOAT and peak. Kill me now, whatever dumb lingo Sonic fans are going with these days. But whatever your thoughts about Sonic 06 are, whether you've played it when it came out, you were a 5-year-old kid when it came out and you just grew up on it and you're nostalgic for it, or you played it very recently and didn't find it as bad as most people say, we could definitely agree that it's all an interesting game. The art style constantly clashes with itself, with mutant animals standing next to realistic humans, a pissy, extremely poorly written story that makes absolutely no sense at all, and a soundtrack that for some reason is way too good and slaps way harder than it needs to be.
This world where life is strong. In this world, life's an open book.
It's an interesting game, nonetheless, and I really think any Sonic fan, or anyone who's interested in Sonic at all, should definitely play this game. My personal thoughts on the game are... I got this game in like 2014, 2013 or something. I don't remember the year. I thought it was 2015, but clearly I've uploaded 06 videos in 2014, so it would have had to have been before that. I searched 3 different GameStop locations in an attempt to find one used copy of the game. I eventually found it, and believe it or not, it's actually one of the few 360 games I still have the disc for. Now, I'm just going to derail this video for a second and say that I absolutely hate fucking GameStop. It's a filthy store full of overpriced games. See, I still remember how much I paid for this shit. I paid $30 for this crap. $30 for a copy that was mildly scratched. I'm sorry, for $30 on a game from 2006, I expect mint condition. GameStop back in 2015 was semi-acceptable. You still had your shitty staff who were always dicks to you. Filthy people, filthy store. Disgusting. Now, today, you still have the same shitty staff, the same filthy store, except it's all full of merch and Funko Pops. Now, I don't really have any pictures of like a GameStop that I personally took, because I haven't walked into a GameStop since 2021 or something. I don't know, it's been years. But the last time I walked into a GameStop, I was treated very poorly because I bought Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1+2 for the Switch. And I should have bought Hades instead. That's what the staff member told me. I don't know, I heard he got fired or something. But back then, it was full of games and shit. Now, today, you'd be surprised if the used PlayStation 4 and Xbox One games section takes up a quarter of the store. At least half of the store is nothing but Funko Pops these days. Used prices used to be a bargain. You used to be able to find games for like $10, $15, sometimes even $5 if you were lucky. But now, a copy of fucking Bully Scholarship Edition for the Xbox 360 runs almost double the price at GameStop than it does just buying the game off the Xbox digital storefront. I played it expecting an absolute dumpster fire like the entire internet had told me. But instead, I got a game that I ended up playing nearly every single day after school for roughly 6 months. I don't know why, but I loved playing this game. Yes, it's buggy. Yes, it's janky. Yes, the story sucks complete ass. Yes, it's not really that fun to play. But for some reason, none of that really mattered to me. I'm kind of a sucker when it comes to like shitty dog water games. Whatever games gives me like a slight amusement of enjoyment is alright in my book. Regardless on how much I want to say I hate playing the newer Sonic games, well, my hundreds of hours in both Sonic Forces and Sonic Frontiers begs to differ. But how do you play Sonic 2006? How can you experience this glory of a game? Sadly, it's not the easiest thing in the world. Sonic 2006, just like Sonic Unleashed, is stuck on old brick Xbox 360 PS3 hardware. And it's even worse than Sonic Unleashed because Sonic 06 was never made backwards compatible for the Xbox family of consoles, so you can't play it there either. Sonic 06 was brought back to the Xbox 360 storefront in like 2021, 2022, I think. It's available for $5 right now. However, due to the fact that in July of 2024, Microsoft is shutting down the Xbox 360 storefront, and as such, Sonic 06, alongside its DLC, will go with it and no longer be available, with the DLC being absolutely impossible to ever obtain again if you had not previously purchased it. Luckily, with the help of Xenia, emulation, and some sailing the seas, we'll be able to get the game alongside its DLC, further preserving the game for future generations to be able to play and enjoy forever, despite how much Sega wants us to forget it ever existed. So, you're gonna need to be wearing an eye patch because we are hopping on the pirate ship to sail the seas. Due to the topic being pretty dicey, I might as well say it. I don't condone piracy. If you are able to legally purchase the game alongside its DLC, then buy the game. No other way around it to justify your want for a free video game. However, due to Sonic 06 being delisted from storefronts next year, there will be no legal way to get this game or its DLC. Yeah, you'd still be able to buy the game in the form of a used copy, but the DLC you just won't be able to get anymore. Sega does not get any money for a used copy of the game in any way, so the same way to Sega, buying a used copy is the same thing as just pirating the game off the internet. And if you ask me, in this situation, it'd be absolutely okay to pirate this game, as it's essentially abandonware at this point. But you guys are going to have to figure out where the game is yourself. I'm not linking the ROM or any of that, neither its DLC, but I'm sure the r/ROM subreddit can help you figure that out. So, getting Sonic 2006 is a pretty easy thing to do. You need two things if you want to play the base game. You'll need an ISO for Sonic 06 alongside Xenia. Any Xenia branch works. The Master branch, the Canary branch. I'm just going to use the Canary branch this time. Now, the Canary branch went over some controversy very recently due to the fact that it did some screwy things to people who throw ISO formats into the emulator, such as blasting loud noises that blow a hole in your eardrum. I don't need another one. And other malicious things if you attempted to run an ISO. Thankfully, as of writing this script, all of that was removed and the emulator displays a simple warning along with linking a quick start guide on how to do this shit legally. Because honestly, who gives a shit about people pirating an almost 20-year-old Xbox 360 game that you can barely buy anymore? Honestly, I don't give a shit. And if you get your panties in a twist over people doing that, then you're a predator. The reason we are using the Canary branch will be explained later. But once you got Xenia and the ISO ready, well, unlike the other two games that we did, you don't really have to configure this one at all. Just drag the 06 ISO right into Xenia and the game will start up and run perfectly fine. My computer is kind of a potato. I can play the levels just fine at mostly full speed, being unable to brute force some of the slowdown that's present in the Xbox 360 version, but my hub worlds run a little slow depending on the situation. It really depends on what your computer is. Mine is a Ryzen 5 2600 CPU alongside a GTX 1660 Ti graphics card. Chances are, if you got a computer past the year 2021, you've got a much better system than I do. And that's about it when it comes to playing base 06 on PC. What about the DLC though? Now, if you didn't listen to me and you used Xenia Master like a bad boy instead of Canary like a good boy, you're screwed. I have no idea how to install the DLC at all with Xenia Master, because Xenia Master doesn't have the install content button located in File when you open the emulator. Xenia Canary has this option, so it's pretty easy to install the DLC. How easy? Well, once you got the DLC files, click Install Content, go to the DLC folder, and just there, you're done at that point. To see if the DLC installed, you can do this on the clean save file, I believe. Go into Act Trial, and if you can select Team Attack Amigo and Tails as the character, then the DLC is installed. But what is the DLC? Well, Team Attack Amigo is just like this one long 15-minute level where Tails, Omega, and Blaze go through 3 different levels. It's really long, it's big, it's the most interesting of the DLC for sure. What's interesting, at least, is in North America, Team Attack Amigo was exclusive to the Xbox 360. They never released it on the PlayStation 3 in North America. However, everywhere else like Asia, the UK, and Europe, it is available for PS3. A very hard mode is the first instance of a developer ever charging for a hard mode in the video game. You think Metro Last Light was the first? Well, think again. It's basically redesigned versions of all the levels in the game. They are quite different compared to the normal and hard counterparts, and they can be worth playing through, and they can actually be pretty challenging at times. Boss Attack mode is basically what it sounds like. You know Boss Rush mode from Sonic Frontiers, that free update that you got completely free with your game? Well, it's basically the same here, except you have to pay for it. And just like Team Attack Amigo, PlayStation 3 did not get this DLC in the United States for some reason. And that's basically it. There you have Sonic 06 along with its DLC running on the PC. So what's next? Sonic 06 runs pretty fine on the PC, better than the Xbox 360 as a matter of fact. One of the biggest differences between Xenia and actual hardware is the load times. The loading times are very short in Xenia, to the point where sometimes it doesn't feel like the game is loading at all. The load screens pop up and suddenly they're gone, while on the Xbox 360 version, you'd be sitting there for like a couple more seconds waiting for it to load. The Xbox 360 version of 06 already ran at 60 FPS on actual hardware, but suffered from massive slowdown issues across the entire game. Xenia has no such issues. Xenia pretty much brute forces past pretty much every slowdown problem the 360 had, minus this one section in Crisis City that still exhibits a bit of problems. Texture problems do exist in Xenia. Some of the textures can appear corrupted and completely broken, but they don't affect the general gameplay. Outside of that, that's Sonic 06. The game does have a modding community, and there's plenty of mods and even a mod loader that exists for the game. I didn't really try any of that stuff out, though. If you have a PC that's any recent, like a mid-range gaming PC from 2019, definitely use Xenia to play the game because it is much better than playing it on an actual Xbox 360. But there is another method to play this game. It's not everything, but I know some people are going to want me to mention it, and if I don't, the comments will, so I'll save your guys' breath. What the heck is a P06? What's a P06? Is it Penis 06? Something like that? I don't know. Well, Sonic P06 is the name of a fan remake of Sonic 06 for the PC, running in the Unity engine by Chaos X. Basically, it is what it sounds like. It's a remake from the ground up of Sonic 06 for the PC. The remake is, well, amazing, to simply put it. Probably one of the best remakes of a game I've ever seen. It compares to... I mean, it's better than most AAA remasters. That's the bar we're pushing. It's basically Sonic 06 like you remember it, but with all the physics problems fixed, new moves entirely, all the bug fixes, all the slowdown fixed, remastered graphics that stay 100% true to the original art style, and honestly, what more can I say about this remake? It's absolutely incredible, and it's one of the greatest, if not the greatest Sonic fan game I've ever seen in a while. Basically, every single problem I have with base 06, outside of the level design, is completely fixed here. You do need a strong computer to run this though. My computer tends to struggle to run this game quite a bit of the time. It looks absolutely incredible though, especially if you take the graphics settings all the way up. The footage I recorded is on just the medium graphics. You can go all the way down to potato mode if you really need to, but it does ruin the atmosphere of the game, definitely. It looks worse than the 360 version. That's a bit of a hint. All I know is, in my experience with 06, to play P06, you do need a much faster computer than you would to just emulate it through Xenia. So how do you play through this fan remake? Well, it's easy and it's the most simplest thing ever. Basically, you go to Chaos X's release video for the remake. Sadly, if you search PO6 Silver Release on YouTube, it's not exactly the first thing that pops up on the results page, so you just gotta keep scrolling down and eventually you'll end up finding the page at some point. Basically, you'll want to find a video by Chaos X and no one else. Just download it from the description and then open it. You don't even have to have 06 or an ISO file or any of that. It's 100% standalone, it's free, you just run the executable. But this remake doesn't really have everything though. Story mode's missing, as well as boss fights and the last episode. DLC stages are missing, as well as hard mode. It's still in development, so I expect it will be some time before it's feature complete, but for right now, if you just want to play through all the normal Sonic, Shadow, and Silver stages completely fixed and the best that they have ever played, then download this remake, it's worth a play regardless. But basically, that's gonna do it for this video. That's just 2 ways on how to play Sonic 06 on the PC, and I didn't even look into RPCS 3 because, well, the 360 version of the game is just better, has the DLC, and the last time I heard for RPCS 3 you need like a modified build of the emulator that's like patched to run 06 to play it there. And honestly, that's not really worth it because I have no idea what changes they made to that emulator to get it running. So personally, I don't trust it. But Sonic 06 is truly the game of all time, and you should do yourself a favor and witness the game that nearly killed the Blue Blur. Anyways, that's it for this video. Until next time, see ya when we hit cyberspace.